Every Jamaican deserves a place to call their own home. Our plans are to make that a reality. We don't bulldoze people's homes, we build them. We're going to restore the special low interest rates for public sector workers. We're going to introduce a 3-month moratorium period after you buy the house, so you have some time to furnish it and do little fixing up before you have to start making your mortgage payments. And we'll increase the debt service ratio for public sector workers so that you can qualify for a bigger mortgage loan. We're really thinking about you guys. And for our young people, we have the Young Owners Fund, a $1 billion annual fund within the NHT, where anyone up to 35 who's buying a house for the first time, if they're an NHT contributor for at least 2 years, can get a grant of $500,000 towards the deposit on the house. And if you're a person who is working but can't produce a pay slip because you're in the informal economy, or you're struggling to save enough for a deposit for a home, we have the rent-to-own plan, where you can go into the house as a tenant, paying rent equal to the mortgage, and after 6 months, if you can establish your capacity to pay the rent on time, you'll be eligible for the mortgage, you can draw down the loan and become an owner of the house and step up in life. Because housing is not just a luxury for the few, it's a must for everyone.
Big up yourself, talk your mind, not talk for the first big up on yourself. But I can tell you, see, Jamaica Labour Party, it was founded upon batty business, because remember, Alexander Clark, did left go with one captain for one ship, And when he come back, he said the man had up him. A big old grey tone blood clot man, and he named Alexander Bustamante. And the man finished, the captain for the ship did name Bustamante, This is what I say. Yeah, man. I remember, Siaga, used to fuck enough of them too, because he beat some of them blood clot, You see me? When they don't want to take fuck good, You see what I say? See? So, the Jamaica Labour Party was brought up on batty business. That's why them are promoting about batty business in a blood clot Jamaica. I say, me tired to go out. When you go in at the government system, them, I pay a girl, the man then turn in it. You see me? All government institute where you go in at, you see.
Comrades, know this, feel the victory. Time go, people, know this, feel the victory. Time go, comrades, know.
Greetings, Jamaica. Today I want to speak to you about some important issues of governance that are topical at the present time and that I'm finding troubling. There's a whole question of the bureaucracy and the integrity of Jamaica's civil service. Now, the position of permanent secretary is the senior position in the civil service in any ministry. It is a permanent post for the career of that person, that officer who's appointed. That's why it's called permanent secretary. That person runs the ministry from an administrative perspective, from government to government, whichever party forms the government. So it's very important, and it is the tradition and the convention in our system, that permanent secretaries are independent, non-partisan, non-political, above reproach. Now, the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Energy, Telecommunications and Transport retired effective December last year. And a new person has been appointed as the permanent secretary. That person is Khadijah Campbell Rochester. Now, Mrs. Campbell Rochester formerly was in charge at the Constituency Development Fund unit within the Office of the Prime Minister. But she is somebody who has had a close association with an MP. In fact, the MP is Andrew Holness, Prime Minister. She was the director of his NGO, his non-profit, Positive Jamaica Foundation, which was called up in the Integrity Commission report on his affairs. She was also, I believe, a director of the West Central St. Andrew Trust, another NGO that he has in relation to his constituency. How can it be right that somebody that is so closely involved in the governance of the arrangements, or was so closely involved in the governance of the arrangements for somebody's constituency, being appointed a permanent secretary in the civil service. It doesn't look right to me, and I'm bringing it to your attention. Of course, there's a broader question of the wife of the head of government, the wife of the prime minister, being appointed the umpire of the affairs of parliament, the legislature, as Speaker of the House. Again, how can that be right? The tradition in our system of government is that the Speaker is an independent person. Even if they come from one side or the other, they are supposed to act impartially and independently to ensure even-handedness and fairness in the conduct of parliamentary affairs. How can it be right that the wife of the head of government, the Prime Minister's wife, is the umpire in Parliament in the form of the Speaker? We objected to this strongly when the decision was announced that she was going to be reappointed Speaker after the last election. Despite our objections, the appointment went ahead. Again, it doesn't look right. It isn't really consistent with the way in which the Westminster system of democracy, which is what we adhere to, ought to function. The last point I want to address is this JPS $150 million loan. Now, we, all of us, want to see electricity restored to all Jamaicans as quickly as possible after Melissa. And I express my sympathies for anyone who is still without electricity. We had raised the question, though, because the minister came to Parliament in December and said that the funding required to restore the grid was $350 million at least. And yet the amount of money that the government was going to provide was $150 million. Now, remember, the government's a 20% shareholder in JPS. The other 80% is owned by two overseas companies, Marubeni of Japan, East West Power of South Korea. They weren't putting any money up for the restoration because the minister had given a notice earlier in 2025 saying that their license was coming to an end and wouldn't be renewed in 2027. So they didn't have any security that they would still be in charge of Jamaica's electricity grid come 2027, and they weren't going to put up any money without any security. So the government was putting up money far beyond its 20%, but still at least $200 million less than the minister told us was needed to fix the grid. We asked him, how is it a good idea to put some funding in without knowing how the necessary amount would be reached and obtained? He never answered that question. I asked him again on Tuesday. Again, he dodged the question. And I'm saying, a matter as fundamental as this, where the government's resources, which is really the proceeds of the catastrophe bond, $150 million, has been lent to company JPS that Jamaica owns 20% of, in a scenario where we're told that the necessary resources to do the job is $350 million, so it's not even half of what's required. How is it a good idea to proceed without explaining how you're going to finance the full restoration project? Who is not going to have their light restored because the money can't stretch to what is needed? These questions have never been answered, despite how important this issue is to Jamaica at this time. Again, not good governance, people. We need to be vigilant. We need to stay on our toes because things are going in a direction that suggests that we have concerns that we must be vigilant about. Over to you.
Jamaica, the message of life and death. So you better listen carefully. The Jamaican government has once again sold us all out, but this time it is our life they are playing with. They have signed contracts with foreign oil companies to start deep sea oil drilling off our coast, specifically the Pedro Bank area, just southwest of Clarendon, Manchester, and St. Elizabeth. And guess what's underneath where they're going to be drilling? A tectonic time bomb. You see Pedro Bank? It sits right next to Enrique Plantain Garden Fault Zone. It's a major fault line that runs from Jamaica straight to Haiti. Yes, Enrique Plantain Garden Fault Zone. It's the same one that caused the 2010 earthquake in Haiti that unalived over 200,000 people. No Fui government has sold us out to foreign company and gave them the go-ahead to start drilling into it. Deep sea drilling is not just about poking a hole in a Jamaica. It shakes the seabed. It builds pressure. It causes subsea fractures. And when those fractures snap near a fault line, it triggers a massive earthquake. And with that earthquake, that massive earthquake, comes a tsunami. We're talking about places that's going to be underwater, wiped off the planet, covered in Jamaica like Clarendon, Manchester, St. Elizabeth, Portmore, St. Catherine, Kingston, St. Thomas. Una listening to me? You are on the coast. You will be the first set of people to drown. A tsunami from Pedro Bank could hit the coastline in less than 15 minutes. There will be no warning, no time to run, no time to save your children. Just water, death, gone. But that's not all, Jamaica. No, that's not all. You see, underwater, there are 2 underwater volcanoes south of Jamaica. Them call them Jenny and Lenny. You ever hear about them? You should have. If this drilling triggers deep seismic activity, Jenny and Lenny would erupt. You don't have any idea what that means, Phoebe? It means steam blast, gas clouds, earthquakes, and a volcanic tsunami. That's the entire Caribbean at risk, not just Jamaica. So what make we government do this? And why them do this to we? For money, but not for food no money. The oil contracts are being handed to foreign companies. Yes, foreign energy companies, including Chinese and Canadian corporations, with private deals and hidden clauses. The Jamaican people won't even own the oil. We'll just die on top of it. They plan to extract billions and give you pollution, poverty, and death. This is not development, Jamaica. This is eradication. When you don't believe me, guess what will happen after the disaster, after they unalive hundreds and thousands? They're going to blame nature and say it's an act of God. Meanwhile, the foreign companies will move in, ready to rebuild smart cities, sell off the rest of the land them, and take full control of Jamaica's future. And the poor will have no land, no home, no voice, and no compensation. Members said they never asked you about this island, and they're not even telling you about it. They didn't even do a proper environmental review. They did not tell you the risk or anything. Why? Because they know once you understand what's at stake, you'll burn down them plan to the ground. Listen to me, Jamaica. If we allow drilling, Jamaica will become the next Haiti, the next Fukushima, the next underground, underwater graveyard. This is not a conspiracy. This is pure science. This is fact, and this is a damn betrayal. So I'm telling you now, Jamaica, you better stand up, organize, march, call every ministry and make them burn up every contract. Ring the alarm, because the moment the drill pierces the seabed, it's not just oil that's going to rise. It's going to be death. Jamaica, Caribbean, diaspora, this is the last warning. Stop the drill or we'll dig the graves.